Okay, Isabella, we're going to read a story from the Blue Book. We're going to read Curious George and the Hot Air Balloon. Okay? Here we go. Curious George and the Hot Air Balloon in the style of H.A. Rey. This is George. George is a good little monkey and always very curious. He was on a trip with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. It was the end of their vacation, and they wanted to make just 2 more stops. They were in South Dakota, so of course they wanted to go see Mount Rushmore. They had never seen anything like it. Wow, it was a mountain in the shape of 4 big faces. These are the faces of 4 great presidents, said a tour guide. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Look, said a girl, there's something crawling on George Washington's head. The tour guide explained that some workers were making repairs to the statues, and they were up there on top. George watched the workers, and then he saw a helicopter fly by. George thought it'd be fun to ride in a helicopter. Maybe we can ride later, said the man with the yellow hat. But now we need to leave, or we'll be late for the hot air balloon race. So they got back into the little blue car, and before long they came to a whole field full of hot air balloons. Wow! George was delighted to see such big balloons. He liked their spots and their stripes and their stars, but his favorite one had a picture of a bunny on it. One balloon was not up in the air yet. Its owner was hurrying to fill it full of hot air as a newspaper reporter took pictures. The man with the yellow hat watched the balloon on the ground, but George was watching the balloons up in the air. He was curious. Why didn't they just fly away? Then he saw the ropes. A rope is a good thing to keep a balloon from flying away, thought George. A rope is also a good thing to climb. Well, sometimes when a monkey sees something to climb, he just can't help himself. He has to climb it. George thought he would climb just one rope quickly and then climb back down. But when George climbed up, there was no way to climb back down. The rope came undone, and then there was only one place to go. Up, 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 up. Up went the balloon, and George went with it. Zoom. George flew higher and higher, and the people grew smaller and smaller. The man with the yellow hat was tiny, and the newspaper reporter was tiny too. The owner of the balloon wasn't very big, but he was big enough for George to see that he was angry. George felt bad. He didn't mean to take the balloon. He didn't even know how to fly it. As the wind whisked him away, he wished he had someone to help, but he was all alone. George climbed into the basket, and when he looked around, he found he wasn't alone after all. The race was on. The sky was full of balloons. He was in the lead. All the balloons flew together over the forest. Now George was having fun. But before he knew it, the wind changed directions, and George was alone again, and all the fun was gone. Flying by himself, high in the sky, George was frightened. How would he ever get down, he wondered. If only he hadn't climbed that rope. Suddenly, the wind changed directions again, and George saw something familiar. What did he see? Mount Rushmore. He was excited. Someone was sure to help him now. In fact, there was someone right in front of him, on George Washington's nose. One of the workers had gotten stranded on George Washington's nose. George was so happy to see the worker, he didn't even notice how happy the worker was to see him. Slowly, the balloon floated closer. Would it come close enough? It did! The worker grabbed onto the rope and quickly scrambled up into the basket with George. Hooray! The worker was rescued. Hooray! George was rescued too. They sailed up, up, up and over George Washington's head and landed safely in a tree. A crowd came running to rescue and help them both. The man with the yellow hat was happy to see George safe and sound. The reporter was happy to have such a good story to tell. And even the owner of the balloon wasn't angry anymore. Everyone had seen the rescue. George was a hero. After the workers thanked him, George and the man with the yellow hat got a special treat. They got to ride in the helicopter. They rode once more by the faces of the presidents, and then all back to the little blue car. As they drove away, the man said, "That was some vacation, George." George agreed. It was an exciting vacation, but they were both very glad to go home. The end.